Day 9 today. Or maybe it's day 10, I have to check. So I'm holding in my hands a warm little bird. I was working in my driveway. And, getting ready for it's garbage day tomorrow. Out here in the country. And just doing my garbage, getting everything ready. And as I was doing my thing, car whizzed by and I just heard like a thunk. And this little bird was in the wrong place at the wrong time. As she sits here in my hand, she's still warm. And I feel bad for this little bird. His sweet little beak and his neck is broken. But he's a perfect little bird. And, it's stuff like this that when I think about this, we men, when we experience this kind of situation, it's hard. I think it's even extra hard because in my particular case, maybe you guys who've lost your girlfriend or your wife, maybe you're fighting or doing whatever. In the case of my relationship, it was perfect. Well, I know there was withdrawal that was going on, but there was no fighting. There was communion. And again, the biggest thing for me is the sex was super hot right up to the end. Because that's how a man equates love, right? Through sex. But, so it's hard to take when all of a sudden the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. And just like this little bird, he was having a fine day. He or she, I'm not sure what. He's having a fine day, flying around, getting some worms. It's going to rain here soon. Probably looking forward to the worms coming out because of the rain. And everything was just fine, and all of a sudden, thunk, and that was it. Now, birds and other animals, they largely live on instinct. But as I've gone through this whole brouhaha, it's become apparent to me that instinct is everywhere. We as humans are animals. And navigating this stuff so easy for some men. Maybe it is, maybe not. 5 months ago, even 3 months ago, even a month ago, people would see me with my girlfriend and they would be like, how's that guy figured that out? And I thought I had. But if you've ever had an opportunity to, my son, he's scholastic, so he forwarded a lecture to me by Jordan Peterson. If you guys aren't familiar with Jordan Peterson, he's a fairly well-known YouTube personality. He's a professor. He was a professor at York University. I don't know if he still is or not. But he's basically tilting the academic world on its end because he's not subscribing to a lot of the SJW stuff you see out there. But his lecture was all about how to live a proper life, you have to have 1 foot in chaos and 1 foot in stability. Yin and yang. And that's how you find balance. I look back at my life and I've had my share of chaos. The greatest amount of chaos I ever had was after my wife and I separated. She played some dirty pool and got my children taken away by the Children's Aid for a year or more. And that was a hard time. Because as you men know, in our world, women hold all the cards when it comes to influencing the system. And I didn't make proper choices in regard to the mother of my children. And so that's the price I had to pay. Now that being said, I have 2 sons and they are spectacular boys. Really terrific. And they're in their early teenage years. and I wouldn't trade that. The experience, the hell I had to go through for that year was very difficult. Actually, you know what? It probably was more difficult than this circumstance here because it never ended. It went on and on and on. Not being able to see your children is very traumatic. But when these types of circumstances happen, you know, it brings you back. So here we are with this little bird again. Sweet little bird doing his thing, and things didn't work out. But you know, you always have to look at the upside, the brighter side of things. And in this particular case, the brighter side of this thing is that when she comes back, whether it's in a month, 2 months, you know, we had such a strong connection that 5 years from now, if she comes back, I will likely take her back because it is hard for me to imagine. And I know some of you guys might think it's a cuck thing to say, but I've had enough relationships to know it is hard for me to imagine someone who is more ideally suited to who I was and who we were as a couple. You know, as we were pulling to the end, I said, you know what? The problem, if we break up, one of two things is going to happen. 4 or 5 months from now, you're going to call me up, and whatever dude you're with, you're going to break his heart because you will not have the connection you had with me. We'll end up breaking two hearts because, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you want to be with somebody, right? So yeah, if this goes on for long enough, I will get with somebody. And I feel bad for them, you know that? I feel bad for them because everybody wants to be loved, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try and find someone to replace her. But I just don't think it's going to happen. You know, I was running through an inventory of all the women who've been in my life. And I'm going to tell you, I told you guys one story about one woman, but I'll tell you more. And I asked myself the question, would I want to be with them today? Based on who they are now. And the answer is no. The answer is no because they, I settled a lot. And either for shortcomings in personality or even shortcomings in physicality. And again in this one, this is that one-itis, right? Again in this one, she had everything figured out. Career, job. The only thing she didn't have figured out is her relationship style, which is why we're here now. Because, you can tell a lot about a woman by the men she's had in her life. I think I mentioned this earlier. Just ask her to say, talk to me about these guys. I went on a date with a woman last night, about my age, and, 2 nights ago, excuse me. And, she had a story to tell about every guy she was with who didn't meet the mark in some way. From mild to wild, she had one boyfriend who became a transvestite, which is hilarious, to guys who couldn't figure out how to hold down a job. But here's the thing. She picked every one of them. And so if I was to get in a relationship with her, the reality is that I would be so different than all of them, and it would be great for a short time. But there would be something inside her which would say something is not right. And it would eventually fall apart. And I guess the only way to counter that is just to give them that same feeling. There's a coach on YouTube here called Coach Red Pill. And he said women need to feel 3 things in order to be with you. They need to feel safety, physical safety. They need to feel emotional safety, like that, you've got your mental business handled. And they need to feel your You need to feel like you're providing for them. Now, in the case of the girl to whom this project is about, I was Captain Save-A-Ho, man. I did all kinds of stuff in her house, fixed her car, and all kinds of things. So, believe me, I think I met the provisionary quotient. Safety. She said she always felt safe in my arms because I was a big guy. Where I fell apart was when these kinds of things happened. It was very hard. I mean, I was able to do it initially, but it wears on you. When a woman pulls away from you, it wears on you, and it comes to the point. I didn't lose my cool or anything, but it just got to the point where I was just like, how is this still happening? And that's why it's important, you guys who, if you have never been in a relationship, you're considering one, you have to be firm as fuck. You have to have nerves of steel. You have to be unaffected. They say you have to be like James Bond to be in a relationship, but I mean, let's face it, James Bond is a flawed character from the standpoint that he's, when he's by himself, if you watch some of the movies, he's hiding in a bottle, and he's basically fighting his own pain. I think we're all fighting our own pain. In this case, I'm trying to medicate my pain of acceptance by just doing the Disney routine, right? Being everything, being Prince Charming, being, and it is such a challenge to find the combination. So all I can tell you guys, if you found a woman who, is doing it for you, and you're still in that hot spot of your relationship, you can keep her there, but you're going to need to dig deep, and it's going to be two things. It's going to be the hardest work of your life, but if you can pull it off, it will be the best work of your life. Anyway, poor little bird. I'm going to bury him. Just a sweet little, he's a robin. Just a sweet little robin. Feel sorry for him. Still warm, even now, still warm in my hands. Anyway, guys, stay tuned for the next installment.